Good afternoon, traders. Welcome to Trade Setup in the live stream for, what are we today? The 19th of January. Hope we're all having a good day. The market's a bit stronger than what I did expect on the open. Just as a kickoff, we did have some numbers out at 11:30. What were they? Unemployment. So the unemployment rate's gone up slightly. We had a previous employment change was up 37,000. We only expecting up only 10,000, so coming in a little better than expected, up 13,500. But still, the unemployment rate's gone, excuse me, from 5.7 to 5.8. So we just thought we'd kick it off with a bit of news there. That was in Australia. So the market, the market's quite strong. It opened up really strong. So we'll take a look at that in just a minute. Of course, just the usual, just check out the general advice warning on the bottom there. We don't give personal advice at all. So everything we do discuss in the stream and any views that we've got, any stocks that we show and what we're looking at, it's pretty much just a general advice. So it's just what we're looking at, our personal opinions, not taking into account anyone else's. So sounds a bit selfish, but that's the way it is actually. If you like, for anyone that's new, that's actually viewing this for the first time or just new to the live stream, you can join us on Twitter, follow us on Twitter at trade_setup, or link into us on Facebook at Trade Setup. So just search that and you'll find us, and then like us there if you like, or join us, follow us there, or subscribe to us on YouTube at Trade Setup, capital AU. You can just see that in the bottom right hand corner. And that way, every time we do go live through YouTube, you'll see an alert will pop up, plus through Trade Setup, plus the YouTube will actually notify you that we're actually going live now. So you'll have a double whammy there. Let's get into the markets. US overnight, I think it was down. I actually didn't update those. I just thought of something. But anyway, markets was down slightly. I just see, I think it was down about a few points. It was a bit mixed. I think the Dow was down and the S&P was up. So, and Nasdaq was also up slightly. So not a lot really. I think from start to finish, it was most of the time it just oscillated between losses and gains on the market. I think it was towards the end of the session it did kick up. We had Yellen, Fed Chair, US Federal Reserve Chair Yellen, spoke. I don't know if it was about 3 a.m. or 6 a.m. One of the two, our time, Melbourne time. And she just reiterated the interest rate outlook for 2017. They're still expecting, or now nothing's really changed dramatically that's deterred them from raising potentially 3 times this year, and that's what they're looking at. And actually, they did say that it was probably more likely to get ahead of the curve with interest rate rise than just leave it till the last minute, and it could be a bit more detrimental to the economy. So if those numbers keep filtering out in the US is quite good, then they will just stick to that plan and raise 3 times, or look to raise 3 times this year. In that respect, you'd expect the US dollar to kick on the way it has been of late. What's interesting though, they had three banks. I think it was Goldman Sachs, Citigroup, and I can't remember the other, reported last night and beat expectations, but the market really didn't react to them that much. So it's probably, we may or may not be starting to see what we're just talking about, buy the room, sell the fact. I think they're still digesting a 20% gain. Well, within that sector, within the financial sector, they're still trying to digest a 20% gain since the elections. So I think it's kind of hard to expect the market to just keep powering along. But we'll see how that plays out. So I think maybe it would be a bit of a muted reaction to a lot of these further company reports, but we'll see how we go. Let's just see. This is the ASX now. You can see how it did. It popped up strong on the open. It just busted through that 57.06. So what I'd be looking for here, it's working its way off 56.53. So, there's a couple of scenarios. Let's just delete these out. This is our plan of attack for the day. So really it's starting to look like this one here. Whether or not we just contract down for the rest of the day and start building that high low and then work our way out, take out these highs, we could be working up to 57.60. Not just today, but I'd say over the next couple of days. If there's a strong night tonight in the US, then that could work its way easily up to 57.60. But I'd expect this type of price action to play out. So it's busted a key level at 57.06. May work its way back in, contract a bit back in, but the MAs are still crossed up, build that high low and then work its way up. Or that could find that it has rejected through that level. It could just be a massive washout at 57.06. It could still hold a lower high in here and work its way back down through 56.53. So it's definitely something to keep an eye on. It just means all it really is just this leg down, really from touching up those highs at 58.07. It's really just pushing lower, and it could just be contraction that leg up. It could just somewhere around here build that lower high and then roll over. So it may be that it didn't get through the first time. It's pulling back, bringing a few buyers, and then wash them all out when it rolls over. You don't know, so you can only really work it as you go. Let's just take a look at the daily. Let's go over to the actual market on the daily. XJO. So you can see that daily there. We'll start off the weekly, just to give a bigger. That weekly is pretty clear what's happening there. The market's high low here, high low at 48, 4700, 4700. It's working its way off there, so it's got a fair way to go through 6,000. But and this leg up currently on a weekly basis is held by 50-50. So if that's the case, on a weekly basis, got the potential it could easily pull back 5,600, even lower, build another high low on a weekly, and then continue up through 58 to 6,000. And it is, you can see just the stochastics there. It could be rolling, well, it probably is rolling over here. We'd assume we've spoken about this for the last few sessions. It is stretched up there. So you just want a bit of steam. It's nothing bad. The market oscillates between gains and losses. So it could easily just have a bit of a pullback just to take a bit of steam out of the market and then just really build for another move higher. And it's a good idea just to keep on. This is why I like viewing the stochastics and strengths for moves up and down. Strength has obviously been up, and if it pulls back, you get stochastic come right down to 50, but price doesn't move too much. It's still a good sign of strength. So we'll see how that goes. Let's look at the daily. And you can see that daily, red candle, green candle, red, red, green, red, red, potentially a green candle here. So that's not conducive to the market. It's just going to tip over. Whereas you can see this type of thing, it's stretched up. And that was way back in December 2016, stretched up. Red candles, which wiped out 5,300 down to 49. So that's 400 points in just a few days. So it's a bit different price action. That's more, lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low until it finds a little bit of a base. So it could just be working its way down to 5,600. We don't know. And that move down is starting to push the daily down to overbought territory. It's still kind of holding up there. So a few interesting points there, but we'll just keep an eye on it going forward. Let's look at just a couple of the currencies. We'll probably speed through a bit today. The Aussie, let's just see. I'll go to the 30-minute chart. Yeah, we saw a bit of a sell-off just after those numbers, the employment data just out previously. That was 11:30. It wasn't a big push down actually. Yeah, 11:30. So it was, you can see here going into the number, you've had a good push up with, and really this could just be holding the trend, holding that trend up. It doesn't mean too much. We can see the market's pushed up, contracted lower, but really held the higher lows as it pushed up, with the most recent one, which at 74.67 zone, which produced that leg up to 75.68 or 75.70. And then we've had a bit of a pullback, tried to go through it, and just pretty much a double top there, just retested those highs, and then we sold off. So that was prior to the number. And you see that even this morning we were in that oversold territory, really extended to the downside a bit, and that numbers just pushed it out through those lows, but really nothing significant on the 30-minute chart anyway. It could just be holding up that trend, and we may start to pick up, if we see a bit of this price action maybe just picking up, and then just holding some higher lows for our work back up, and that may or may not take us up through those highs at 75.67, resume that uptrend. But at the moment, I think so. Really, with this oversold market, you just got to keep. You're looking for your entry zone. We've got a good little zone there, so there's a lot of reasons why we'd be looking for a buy entry. But then you just want to see whether, if we fall short, say here, if you could imagine, that becomes, instead of that becomes that sort of lower high, and then works our way back down through this support zone. So there's those scenarios you get at, but the beauty of getting in nice and early is that you could have potentially some room up your sleeve, if that makes sense, some room to move. You can get in a nice entry and you can be up before that starts to produce that lower high and look like it's going to roll over. So that becomes a major lower high in context to this high at 75.70. All right. Otherwise, just if you get it right, just follow the trend and see if you can get up to there and see if you can get in and move through. And that's the idea between risk management or risk reward. Let's see what the pound's doing. Excuse me. The pound has had a good kick up. We know after, is it the Prime Minister May, her comments, or not saying too much, but I think it just started to outline what they're going to do for Brexit, where they're going to be, it's going to be a staggered exit. And that's what they're looking at. So it's going to be, taking into account companies and making sure they can adjust to the changes. So that was good for the currency. They found that as a positive, especially after the selling. May just be a fair bit of shorts that have built up, just exiting. We don't know. Excuse me. Better take a sip of my coffee. So a few. That's just not working, is it? A few shorts just be getting washed out or flushed out a bit, but you might find that really powerful move up. It could be followed by a lower high, and then we roll over and attack that 120.50 again. We'll have to see how that goes. It's a 4-hourly chart. Don't forget. So, just a bit of a reaction off that level after the comments, but there's a strong move up. It's been followed by some good candles lower, or we start holding a higher low here. But I think it's got a fair bit of work to do either way. Remember that they've got Brexit over the next couple of years, I'd say. Euro is still going as expected. This is a 4-hourly chart. We're sort of looking at that daily previously. Leg down, reaction up, leg down through into that support level 104.50, but just pumping through there, really getting a bit choppy in there, and then working its way up with higher lows, higher highs off there. But it's really, still holding below that key level of 108.76. So shorts there looking off this chart. I mean, we're just in context of what we're looking at the 4-hourly chart. You may or may not just push lower, build a major lower high, like we're talking about in here, lower high, and then rolling over and really attacking back down towards the 104. And that way you should get that extended low. Shorts have been building up, washed out a few of these longs getting in, and then starting to wash out a few of those long positions that built up through here. But again, we'll see. All right, let's get into the video, and then we'll talk about some stocks that we've got. Looking at a few active ones now. Actually, we've got quite a few active ones, so we'll just see how that goes. Let's get into it. Let's just take a look at the video of the day, the presentation. I'm just going to get it up, actually. Why can't I get that? Hey. Okay. All right, guys. So what we've entitled this one, a Speccy stock that is set to surge. All right, so I'll kick it off. I'll get started on this and press play. So anyone, any questions, if you want, just whack it into the chat as we go along. Yeah, or just wait until after a bit of a comment. This is one that I just found. I get a few news, news reports, or sorry, bit of research sent out to me. Just occasionally glance through it, and we'll discuss this again just after it. But I think the stock is actually quite interesting. But I just want to discuss the difference, like why it's important, just to keep an eye on obviously the fundamentals and the technicals as well for your entry. So sit back, guys. I'll press play now, and I'll pause myself. Just be 1 minute. Okay, welcome to Trade Setup live stream. We've entitled this stream a Speccy stock that is set to surge. Okay, I have to admit I wasn't looking at this stock until just recently when it came across my radar. It is on a research report that I actually have, and it looks really nice. And just glanced across what they were doing, and very positive. And also, so the next step was really to look at the technicals, and the technicals are showing some great signs there. It's new to the ASX, or relatively new to the ASX compared, and it is relatively small, but the technicals are showing that it has the potential to really kick on higher. Okay, the stock we're looking at is Afterpay Holdings Limited, AFY ASX code. You can go to the website for any news releases and just check out what they do, and any of the most recent news flow that's came through. Go to www.afterpay.com.au. Okay, AFY is a technology-driven payments company. They provide a service and software infrastructure that allows its retail merchant clients to offer their end customers the ability to buy goods and services on their websites on a simple installment plan with an easy and non-invasive application process with no additional cost to the end customer. AFY was founded in February 2014 by Anthony Eisen and Nicholas Molnar, who commissioned TouchCore TCH to develop the payment technology, and has grown exponentially to date with underlying sales of over 100 million in the second quarter of 2017 to end of December for over 2,000 integrated merchants and over 375,000 unique customers. It looks like they are growing strongly, adding around 1,000 users a day in January alone, which is traditionally a slow month. Okay, a few key points on growth. Some numbers. We've got a number of unique end customers on the platform. Ending second quarter of 2017 was at 360,000, representing growth of 100% on the first quarter. Number of merchants increased to 2,178, having added 1,278 for the quarter. Revenue from merchant fees rose to 4.2 million. Merchant fees as a percentage of underlying sales increased slightly to 4.1%. Okay, let's take a look at the technicals now. Even though we found a few research houses, they've got a nice little buy recommendation on this stock. I think the technicals are showing that we're still just really waiting for an entry setup. The targets are looking at around 394, I think, of memory. But yeah, we just want to see that entry setup before we start looking to buy into this stock for a move higher, at least to hit that target up to high threes or $4 a share. So with good fundamentals, it really should support a great move in this stock. If it keeps to grow the way they're growing and keeps adding new clients to increase revenue, then this should really pick up and lift off these current prices around 265, 270. Let's just draw it up now. So looking from left to right, when they listed, we can see the market's actually pushed up quite strong, and then we had a bit of a pullback here and found a bit of support around that, what was it, 126 zone, where it did push up, and you can see these high lows build just in here, and the market pushed all the way up to about $3 a share there, where it did pull back, had a quite, and that was probably that initial euphoria, had a quite savage pullback there, but the thing is it did hold some high lows, which you can see, which sort of lifted up, and we really did take out those lows. That was around the start of 2016, just took out those highs, but then we've seen some contraction after that. The thing is there, from that low, we did hold the high low just in here, and then we retested down at that support zone just recently, back at the start of this year, probably a few days ago on the 11th. The thing is, we are still holding some lower highs, so we may see that this is in longer term contraction. We don't know how long that's going to take or how long that's going to play out for. Excuse me, but we can see this recurring price action really, where we've got those lower highs, lower lows, finds down the support zone, and then it just lifted off with really no setup apart from potentially just there that you were. Excuse me, it was just preempting that breakout though, maybe through that 248. So I think we could be looking at a bit of the same, maybe. We had that sharp push up. It was probably in the back of some good reporting there too, and some good figures out in January. We have sold off the last couple of days, so whether or not we're just going to, pick up and straight up and hit that resistance and then do the same sort of thing, some lower highs, lower lows back down to the support zone. So we could oscillate between those two levels. What we'd love to see is really a pullback from here, and then maybe retesting those lows, but then evidence of buyers stepping into the market. Okay, a bit of contraction would be ideal, and then for price to lift off from that. So we want to see that more of a major high-low build here, rather than just this sort of price action and bump up to resistance. We'd like to see some contraction in price there, some buyers starting to step in and hold that high-low off this support, which would really signal that prices are probably going to start attacking these highs and break out of that zone. Okay, so it would be great from there too if we bust through. If we just draw this a bit nicer, bust through that zone, or at least retest that most recent high at 308, and then if we can get from there, where the price just continues on and then pulls back to just oscillate at those highs and just show signs of strength to really from there, we draw that, just accelerate on, or whether we from here pull back to hold some high lows and then accelerate. But what we're really waiting for is those more major. Oh, sorry, just draw that in there. We just want to see that high low form in here before we take up and test up to those highs of 308. High low form, bust through those highs potentially, or just back off another high low, and then that's going to bring in some buyers. If we just see that build, that price structure build, and then we want to see that acceleration in price. So from here, if we get this, ideally get that contraction, would be that sort of price action with that high-low build. Then I think the entry trigger will be set up there, and that will take us up into at least that 308, where we could break through, just depending on the fundamentals, if they continue, and that great support there by the fundamentals just to kick on price and look to that target of high $3 or low $4 a share. So we'll see how that goes. Okay. There's just one little thing as I was listening, I forgot to say, and what I think's important from a technical point of view. Let's just get that chart back up. The reason why we'd ideally want to see, the difference between this market just pushing up like that from here and just pushing up and retesting resistance, I think it gets a bit extended, and it's not really conducive to bringing in some new buyers, But if you get this more of a major high low, and what it also does is give us a bit of a run up to those highs. So if we build that high low, I'm just trying to find an example. Just as on a more major scale, but as what we're seeing just here, this was back in November 2016, about mid-November. You can see the market sort of popped up off that support and spent a few days just consolidating at those highs. It just means that anyone who's sort of selling, that's looking for weakness, is starting to sell, but it's been soaked up. And then that type of price action will just bring in some buyers alone. And that's what it did produce a little minor entry. It was a bit riskier. Really, your target could have been just up towards at least those highs, which it fell short of just. Even sort of this inside high as a bit of an early target. You can see just through here that previous high at $3. So what I guess we're trying to say is that brings in some buyers, but it's holding a high level without pushing straight up to the resistance zone first and then backing off and just oscillating between these resistance and support. which you could very well do for a long time yet. And that way, there's no real setup, there's no conducive. It's more of a to and fro between buyers and sellers, and there's no one really winning out as such. But if we do get a bit of a back off, the market doesn't do too much, but then any sort of selling is getting soaked up like this, but on a more major scale, and we get that curving top of bottom with some maybe a lower high, lower low, and then a higher low build on the right hand side. That will give us a good little entry setup. That way we can minimize our risk. We know where to place our risk. We can justify it quite easily, and it could easily be a 2-to-1. Even if we're just targeting initially up to the resistance. All right, and that's not that in blue, the 307 mark, but that's more. If we just stretch that out, come on, there you go. More of around sort of that zone. So even if we're wrong and we do get that type of setup, or it occurs there and we're wrong, and it falls short here and starts rolling over, uh, we could have a positive trade up our sleeve. It just gives us room to move, but if you're buying it on a major breakout through here and it just spikes up, pulls back, then you're behind the 8 ball straight away. We like that sort of inside continuation pattern. If you get, by inside continuation, we mean within the last leg down, it's popped up, it's built a higher low, and once it takes out that high there, for example, that's what we'd say is an inside, because you can minimize your risk down here. Inside continuation, you expect to just go at least the minimum, go to the top end, hit resistance, and that gives us some room to move, I guess you could say. Does that make sense, guys? Just what I'm trying to explain there. But that type of action is you can just see it's more evidence of buyers stepping in, happy to step in at a higher price after that initial acceleration high. You still got a lower high here to contend with. Maybe some sellers here, they're getting sick of it because it's just coming down. It didn't go down. It's not going up. Finding a bit of weakness, sellers going, but it's been soaked up, and then you get that at the right-hand side, that high-low build out of contraction, that little spike high. And just the idea is not, if you buy on a little breakout up the top here, and you've got a tight risk, you can easily get stopped out when it pulls back, but the whole overall trend is still holding and still looking good. Right, does that make sense? I think the other key point I just wanted to touch on, and we've discussed this a few times. I think this probably shows, this is a good little example too. And this is one of the reasons why I picked it. One, had great fundamentals. The research report was good. It had all the data, all the results, and what's happening is really nice, really positive. I guess this is probably the best way to put it. But for me, from a technical perspective, nothing is really setting up just yet. It's got some work to do. So in essence, I mean, who's to say this thing is not just going to roll over from here, and that's more of a major. If I can let's just clear all this up. Sorry guys, you've all got that chart anyway. So what we got is, some sellers are stepping here. We've got some buying down here. Maybe it's range bound, but what if? Who's to say this? That's not what I wanted. F2. Who's to say that that's just not going to, build a lower high, a more major lower high, and then roll over from there if we see some longer term profit taking. And don't forget, it could easily happen. It doesn't matter what the research report, to be honest, it doesn't matter what the fundamentals are saying. There's still people, the ones that are driving this, their actions and reactions, buyers and sellers. So you might find that if people are getting sick of holding this and it's had that kind of spike up, they're expecting it to go. It's just not, and we start rolling over here, especially if we get this type of price action. You might just be sitting on a profit, go, look, I'll put my money somewhere else, I'll make better use of it, or I'll just reassess it later on. So there's nothing to say this is going up. Okay, so just purely off fundamentals, and this is what I find kind of interesting. They've actually got a year target on it. So, geez, this thing could, within a year, this could easily pull back, wipe out some buyers, come all the way back down to $1.50, and then build and push back up to $3 to $4. Yeah, and it's a whole year. It's a long time. I mean, to have an outlook over the next year, a target, this is going to happen over the next year, hit 3 something. It's quite a long period of time. So it's always good, I think. I guess I preach a bit on that respect. Just having your fundamentals that support a good move and why you like it, and then really just referring to your charts for a nice little setup. I mean, I could be completely wrong, but the technicals may not show anything. This goes bang, just goes up. But you can see even that though this report, these are not new statistics coming out. It's not new from the company, but we still got a couple of days of selling actually. Where is it today? If we just look at it, but I've already forgotten the code. AFY. Let's just see what it's doing. Yeah, it's popped up today. So yeah, I guess that's my little two bobs worth. So, what do you think of it, guys? Any opinions? Anyone's been following this or got an eye on it? We have now, anyway. It is a specky, don't forget. It's only done just over 100,000 or thereabouts at the moment. So, I know some of you wouldn't even bother with with this, which is fine. It doesn't fit your criteria, but it's just a good one to keep an eye on. Could really build up. All right, so the market's we've drifted a fair bit lower, back down, only up 10. I think the highs were we at one stage? We were high 57.20, so it's 30 points higher than where we are now. It looks like quite some strength on the open, which just couldn't hold it, couldn't keep kicking on. So we'll see what happens going into the close. Yeah, I thought you'd say that, Paul. It is. It's a very good. It is very speculative. It's just a good load. I know there's a few people out there who, and I do myself. I'm always kicking around these little ones, but I think it's very important in that respect to yeah, it's very important to just take note. Although the fundamentals, just try to get an eye from the technicals of what other people are thinking. With the price action. BSL, I don't know what it's doing, to be honest. Yeah, it's going well. Oh, that's great. That's actually technically that's beautiful. Let's just go back. It is. You can see that it's getting a bit overcooked here, but it's still going. I mean, there's no reason. Here's another thing just to remember with the site with technicals, I guess. Is looking at that. That looks great. It could look stretched. Like, I mean, that's the first thing I said. It's getting stretched up there, potentially, but going stepping back or even probably not that. The weekly is not too bad. It's had a good move up, but if you go to the monthly, it's well and truly coming off those lows. 250 built a major higher low around at 250. It's pushing up. It may get to a point where let's just get to that monthly again. Yeah, you can see this leg up here, that pullback, that leg up there could be even to roughly from lows to highs of about where we are now. That's one of the reasons why it could be getting a bit stretched, and we may be expecting it to roll over again. And those MAs are just crossed on the monthly anyway, but you're going to find a bit of potentially just up towards here, sort of this level where it is now, but it's got a lot of room to move on the upside from where it's come. Just, yeah, not too bad. Vegemite is Australian again. It makes me laugh. Bigger Cheese has just announced they're buying it from the American company that bought it a few years ago. Good. I don't know. There's a lot of US coming in buying things. I thought they bought Arnott's a while ago and they stuffed them up. Shapes was a big kick up about Shapes. I think that was the US. They changed the ingredients and stuffed that up. So hopefully Vegemite, they probably thought, oh, this is all right, we'll buy it. And just thought, no, we just can't handle that taste. 87. Yeah, it's all right. I haven't even been looked at it, to be honest. Best fit. Come on, there we go. It's backing off. You're gonna keep reminding me of that, Paul? It's still look that still like bad resigns in protest. um, got my friend starts doing a few. Is that at Michael? Is that at the thing the company we were just talking about? AFD or ADF? I've already forgotten. My memory is like a sieve, to be honest. Thanks, Paul. You keep me on my toes. AFI, yeah. Okay. Go and ask him what's going on. Get the inside scoop for us. All right. No, just kidding. We don't do that. We don't do that. That's not fair. All right, let's just look at Blue Scope's kicking on. There's one that's kicked off for us today. Is that it? Yeah, it's just backed off a bit, but I can't even say it. Orocoba, ORE. We had a 445, no 450 buy on that. It did open a bit stronger at 451, and that was the low of the day. But it has just pushed through our entry of 450, so that's on the list today. We'll see how that kicks on. There's a few others. BRN, that's really going nicely, going strong. You can see that's starting to look. I mean, if you look at, I don't look at divergence much, but I just know that people do, so it's a good eye. It's good just to keep an eye on. I mean, if that rolls over here on the stochastics, we've got divergence. We've got a higher high on price and a lower high on the stochastics, showing a bit of divergence. Market's getting a bit stretched. That case, you could just well, we could see a bit of selling, but we don't know. I mean, you don't guess it, because if that kicks on without you, once you cut it out, you'd be spewing again, like GXY Galaxy spewing. There was one ASL, just to show it could happen when you drop the ball a bit. We were looking at this one. We sent an alert just today. Anyone that's on TradeSetup, we were looking at a break up through that 135. We're looking at a break up through 135. Sorry, but when we sent out the previous alert was around about this time, and we wanted to see it hold a higher low and just work its way up, and then maybe contract slightly and then kick up through these highs at 140. Now we pretty much got that set up. It held these lows, but the thing is, it went all the way down and tested it, and I sort of stopped. Just I don't know why, just wasn't looking at it when it spent all this time sort of contracting like we. And that's pretty much nice little higher lows. It's just between a channel there, and then broke out to the top side today, and you can see that's kicked up through these highs at which would have been a nice little entry in hindsight, higher 133, and it's only traded up to 139. So this one here, we've still got an eye on it. Austral, still got an eye on it. We just want to see if it can, ideally, if it could pop up above these highs, that's confirmation this thing's starting to lift up and pick up. Or if we just get a bit more contraction, maybe it tests down towards 130, build a really minor high low, and then go on from there. But we'll keep an eye on that one anyway. Is there anything else? Is there something someone's got on their list they just want to kick it off with? Put up there to scrutinize, I guess we can say. A2M still up there. Just picking on ones. We've got a little, you can see on the right hand side here, we've just got the rises in the last 15 minutes. EDE, look at that. Rises in the last 15 minutes. So I just have that set there just to see what's moving, even though the market, when it's down, I like to look at that because you get, when things are good, there you go, it's bigger. When things are good, it's still got some, when they got good price structure and it's all positive with the market, even when with the stock, even when the market's down, they could move. So it's good to keep an eye on that. So I just have that sitting there, just ticking over, picking out stocks randomly, picking those, see which ones are moving. If you see them in that category a few days, you know that something's happening too. Good, this one's a good one. Best fit. That we've had this. I do like this. I just want to see. Hopefully it doesn't go on without us like the other one. We've got it on watch there, Clement. Let's draw it up. Actually, it's done not much today. Let's draw it up on Ninja. Oh, not that one. Just got to get it up. EDE. So here we go. EDE. Some of that data must be wrong. I don't think there was a couple of days of nothing. Saying, yeah, it's Yahoo data. It's free data, so sometimes it's not, but it's got the general gist of what's happening there. Either way we look at it, it's holding higher lows. You can see that higher lows through here. It is still potentially just contracting in, so that's good. I don't mind seeing that. Even here, you know, it is contracting, but the thing is, it's getting to a point, and things can't just sit there and go sideways and do nothing for long. So you tend to find that and just having a quick glance at that, looking at the stochastics, it's getting oversold, even though it's pushed back down. Just see if that's the same picture. So even the stochastics a bit wrong. So I don't know. Look, I'll draw this. I'll draw it off this chart. I like that better. It's not low. All right. In innovations, changed the name a few times, haven't they? Come on. Oh, we can see that there. See the prices. All right, all good. So you can see, like we said, holding higher lows. Whether or not that there, well, it's breaking out of contraction. That's probably a bit clearer actually. It's still just contracting in, so that, you know, obviously, I think there's two key levels. We could be getting to the point where break above that high will signal we're breaking out of this contraction to the top side. And stochastics are in a good level. It's not overbought, oversold. It's not extended either way, and you can see that's just contracting in on itself. Um, I do like that. It's still, you know, we've had that big push up, and it's spent a lot of time contracting, a long time actually. What's that, for about a year? Yeah, good. Yeah, close to a year anyway. Um, I really like these sorts of markets, and that was the Aussie dollar. If you can remember that sort of setup, and then it just busted to the top side, broke out, washed a couple of people out, probably on the downside, just went to pop through only by a few pips, and then pushed up. So this EDE could do the same type of thing, but either way, I think it's going to. It looks like it's just holding this little high low in here above 23. It could just be busting to the top side, 25, 25 and a half, 20, 25. I think it is 25. I'd expect it. If it gets through there, you probably see it just pop up to this and find a bit of resistance at 26 and a half, maybe. If it just pops on through, really from there, it's looking for that setup. And yeah, it's always good to see a price banging in, holding higher lows, really contracting in. It's so clear. And if you get it popping up, you just look for that setup. I'd like to look for that setup through there. Then it's fairly clear. You're still buying relatively unknown, and then you'll get a few people join you, I think, once we start seeing that high low hold. And then really look for that acceleration. You want to see the acceleration take us up to those highs at 35 at least from here. And that way you can, you know, if that's the case, if it plays out that way, accelerates up there, find a bit of resistance. If we don't, so be it, we keep going, good. If we do find some resistance, you can potentially take half a position off and then just play out the other half, drag it up. But it does look good there, Clement. What is, what WC, WBC? Yeah. One thing you can see that it's pretty much filled that gap from yesterday. You see it gap down yesterday, Westpac. We had a gap down. It's got that rejection off that 32.25. Did open high, but pretty much sold off all day. Spent in pretty much, I guess, the other banks did something similar, opened and sold down. Westpac nabbed pretty severely as well. ANZ, yeah, very similar. It's what we spoke about yesterday. I mean, you got to, that doesn't mean much to me. This top price, it doesn't mean as much to me. It doesn't mean it's, and some people take too much note of just what's happened the last. You've got to put it in context to what's happened overall. And remembering the different type of buyers you've got to, it's not everyone's, maybe I'm more of an intraday trader when I like to trade intraday, but a lot of the stocks are done on the shorter term. Not everyone trades shorter term. Some trade, with a longer term outlook. There's mid-term outlooks, there's short term. So there's all types of buyers for different types of reasons. So they're going to step in at different levels for different reasons. Maybe not even looking at the daily chart, looking at the weekly. So that's just a bit of a pullback on a weekly. So there could be either way. That overall price structure on a weekly looks good. Whether or not that's going to be resistance, but I still think it, like I said, it's a bit stretched on the weekly, so it may have a bit of work to do on the downside. Just going back here, remember, look at that. Had that push up, it was getting extended, it pulled back, but it just didn't stop. So the price could easily do anything. It's not a hard and fast rule. Get out when it's overbought. Buy when it's oversold. You've got to look for your entry still. The key part to your trading, you get all this set up. The key part's still got to be your entry trigger. You've got to have some sort of reason for entering the market, not just on a whim. I don't know why I said that, to be honest, but anyway, you can see that I like that daily structure, and it spent a lot of time. It's done a lot of work through here. Some lower highs were coming into play, trying to force the market down. Sellers were still coming in, but the buyers were starting to soak it up. It did pop through that low, but when you get that top price action, when you get a lower low, but it's not by much. So, for instance, you got to put a big push down. It retested that low, popped back up, took another shot at that market on the downside, still holding a new higher low at this stage. You can see this stage in here, pushed down, didn't take out that low by much, and it's come, the amount it had to contract back up before rolling over and just really not thumping through that low, and there was no serious negativity in that, and that's buyers just soaking it up, pushing it, popping back up, push back down, so buyers soaked it up again. Get a bit of a wash out of those lows just here. They even retested those lows. Buyers are happy to step in and soak it up there. But then you can see it becomes a bit clearer. Once we get this type of price action, you can see that's what we discussed on the ASX. Minor lower low, minor lower high, minor lower low. So that type of price action is not conducive of a very weak market. It's just people stepping in a bit lower, buying it, just trying to get a bit of better price, but still buyers are stepping in. And that produces that little move up there, retested that level. And then buyers are just stepping at a high. And we've had that more longer term run up to 3,400. So for me, we could just get that. It's had that sort of accelerated move up. There's got to be a bit of steam taken out of the market when you get overbought, and you can see the way it's pushed down on a daily basis. Remember, the weekly is a bit extended to the upside. Nothing to say this market couldn't just buoy from here. You get your setup around this levels, retesting sort of where it broke out around 32, and then popping up from there. So still looking very positive to me, even after the last couple of days. Don't know if anyone agrees with that assessment, but I'm right, you're wrong. Or anything else, guys? Remember, we're just going to change the structure. So tomorrow we'll be on as per normal with a chat and a stream, a topic for the stream. But then as of Monday, actually Monday we're doing the same type of thing, but we'll start from Monday, do a different structure. So we want to have more, say on the Mondays, and probably a Thursday, I think, Wednesday, Thursday, probably a Thursday, more dedicated to looking at different stuff that you guys want to look at, and also have the stream. But the other days, so Tuesday, Wednesday, and then Friday, doing just a presentation, which I'll an alert and just upload. So if there's anything you want to have a look at, feel free to send it through. What do we got? Still bouncing around here. Let's just take a look at the ASX. Just checking out where some of these alerts are. AJX is still, it's holding these highs. We'll have to see how that plays out. You can see that's a little stretch. We may get a deep correction, but we'll see how that goes. It's still good. I think it's got some good news flow. Still expect it to kick on again. It's fairly small. Not one for you there, Paul. EDE, there you go. Production expansion progress. Bit of buying. Some been buying since we're talking. ASR Estrella. That looks good. Look at that. So a lot of these, you can see they're coming from these lows. They've been just hammered, and then starting to lift off those lows, which I like. So it gives a bit of opportunity. and people always remember where they've been in the past and can see that they could have a lot of room to move and happy to jump in because they still, even though that looks stretched on this perspective, so on this perspective may look a bit stretched, people would still view that as very cheap compared to where it's been. So these things, that type of product could really kick on. AGY. Haven't even traded today, have they? You're a miner, aren't you, Clement? You're into the mining industry? Seems to be a lot you're popping up there really good. We should do a lot of research into that area. It's good. Let's draw it up. There's two things I can see on this. Let's just go through. Actually, let's draw both. We'll look at it from a weekly, yeah, working industry, thought so. We'll look at it from a weekly perspective. There we go. We're building our little network of information. You can give us information about the industry. What do we got? Michael. Michael with the inside scoop on AFY. All right, so you got one thing you're just taking across. So the reason why I picked this high, not any other high, it's because you can see it's had a good run up. Okay, so that's a good high. It's probably coming, not just fell a bit short of those highs, but it was within those two little highs there. Popped up, and then we got lower lows, lower highs, pushing it down, and then we got popped up here, higher low, popped up, took out this high. So I take that as a key area, a key sort of swing area, and then it rolled over from there. But you can just see it's been a lot of time. Well, that's a couple of years holding those lows, and we're starting to lift off now. So what you'd expect on a weekly basis is this, it's had that lift up a bit like this, potentially a higher low. So we're just looking for that type of action for it lift off from here. This be a higher low. In contrast, well, in respect to these lows at around 0.5 cent or so. Yeah, yeah. So I'm just going to look at that too. We're going to just had a text come through there. So that's left up. We're expecting it to build that higher low and take out these highs and kick on. It doesn't really, in that respect, we don't really care if it's going to kick onto these highs or where. I mean, that would be awesome. But realistically, when you break it down, we've got a good little trade low. If we go down to the daily even, if it holds that higher low on the weekly basis, takes out those highs, it's going to give us a good trade. We just have to work the entry off the daily, obviously. The thing is with this daily, this is price action that it doesn't mean anything. I mean, it's just something I've noticed. These sorts of price action, and then it can roll over. If I can just draw it up and show you what I mean. Is this type of price action is good, accelerating high, a bit of a pullback, 1/3 to 2/3, and you get that sharp move higher. So the time it spends pulling back is about 3 or 4 times the amount of time it actually spends rallying and taking out those highs. And you can see it's spent a lot of time around here, then bang, within a couple of days, it got to the highs around here. Then it started running out of steam, some lower highs in here, and then pushed its way lower. But this type of price action here is quite savage. I don't know what was happening, what's sort of driving that type of price action, what's driving the appreciation in price, but it's different to what we're seeing lately. This is very controlled. You get a bit of move up here. We took out that high, but really not by much from where we come from. Whereas when we took out these highs, you took out them quite a lot, pullback, took out the high by quite a bit, took out the high by quite a bit. Does that make sense? So we're not, even though we spent a lot of time holding that base, holding a few minor higher lows, and then we washed out through those most recent highs. And then we come all the way back down. So the amount that we just washed out, or just took out those highs by, we spent a lot of time coming all the way back. All right, so we could be just in a bit of well, that wasn't very straight, was it? A bit of a channel through here, and then we could be heading up to the top end of that channel. But we also could be holding a lower high. All right, so at the moment, I'm just trying to explain this in a better way, way I see this, Clement. It's not the euphoria type of, I don't want to miss out on this type of trade price action. It's more control, where it doesn't suggest to me a lot of strength in buyers. And this thing could easily wash out these lows, take out these lows here, even this low, and head all the way back down, down to below 1 cent. Okay, but then again, you may just spend a lot of time doing this, and then people are buying it. There's still people happy to sell it, maybe because of the run up there. They've held it for a while and they're getting sick of holding it. You don't know why. But we might get this type of price action, slowly going higher, and then we may contract in, okay, and then explode higher, from here, contracting a bit between these two, that resistance, sloping resistance down and rising resistance, higher lows, lower highs, contract in and then just explode high and just bust right up through these highs. You don't know what's going to happen, but just this most recent price action, which has been quite a bit of time doing, it doesn't look super strong to me. Just remember the weekly. That weekly still, I do like that weekly. Maybe it's just some news that's about to come out. A few insiders know. We don't know. We'll just have to see how that plays out. But it could easily do this type of price action. Spend a lot of time grinding lower, still holding some minor higher lows, lower highs, and then some news come out and bang, off she goes. All right, anything else? I hope that makes sense to you. Clement, I may have been talking around in circles a bit there. Okay, just finishing off the coffee there. All right, may just pull the pin on it today. Call it quits there. We'll see how this market, it's just picked up a few more points. We'll just see how it plays out for the rest of the day. See what pans out, whether we just start grinding higher into the close. Let's just get up that chart of the ASX and see if we do play it, hold a higher low in here, and that could take us up through these highs. Today's highs are 57.21, and just work our way up to 57.60 over the next day or two. SPK, okay, we'll have a look at that, Paul, and then we'll call it a day. That's looking good. That's a weekly, so since 2011, it's been a long-term uptrend. But from where it's okay, I know this, and just the way I view things, I always stepping back just to see where that move is in context to the previous move. Weekly's uptrend, daily's down. Monthly's downtrend, and so it's just. And the reason why I do it, because you don't want to. Last thing I want to do is jump into something here where you think on a, just looking at this on a weekly, is go, oh, it's in an uptrend. This is another higher, higher low. We'll buy it here and we'll just hold it. If it takes out those lows, it doesn't matter because it's still in an uptrend. But then when you just go, okay, it's pretty clear that that's in an uptrend. But it has gone on for quite a while, and that's going back to 2011. This is off a weekly basis if you're a long-term buyer. So if I want to buy it here, I just got to take into account that has been going for quite a while, and it's had a bit of a push up here, good solid move up, starting to get a bit of speed to that movement higher, a bit of volatility, and then it backs off, and then it gets bought up here, and then it's more of a controlled move, but it still takes out the highs. It's a new high, and then pull back. So you're looking, if that's the case, and you're looking for that swing level. Nothing to say you can't buy it in a weekly and make some money, but I'm just trying to. This is the process I would go through. You've got that move up, pull back, so you're considering this a swing level. So what's that in context to? I always just skip it back a chart just to see what it's in context to, and you go, and that's uptrend clearly from left to right of the chart. Looking at a monthly, that's a downtrend. You got a high here, lower low, lower high, lower low. So potentially this is a major lower high on a monthly basis. So then, for me, I just would warrant me a bit of analysis there. Well, it looks like it's starting to break out of the month, so we look like the tide's turning on a monthly basis, and that trend is higher. Um, but yeah, that's just something that I do. I mean, if you're looking at that type of move up and it's around this stage, who's to say that's not going to roll over and make, at least retest those lows, and then you've either got to sit on your position for ages and you're sort of wasting that capital when it could be put to better use. Um, I mean, there's no doubt that it could easily turn around and just keep going. And sooner or later, one day you'll be in profit. And that's why, like I said, the researchers give themselves a year to be profitable. And they say, look how good I am. That's happening in a month. That's really, I hit my targets in 1 month. Well, that's great. If it hits it within that year, you're going to call yourself, a gun. But I just think that you've got to be a bit more specific, a bit more, how do you say, precise with the entries, just to make better use of your capital. So again, I just got sidetracked there. Yeah, and that's why I would always flick it back to charts just to give it in perspective what's happening in the other charts. So now I've got a bit of perspective on that monthly, what's happening there. Lower high, lower low. Who's to know if it rolled over from here and just on a weekly basis started rolling down? You got at least a push down to those lows or through. Bounce off here, you don't know what's going to happen, but it spends a lot of time just wasting. You're wasting time. That's what I'm trying to say. Um, but looking at this, where we are now, the market is kicking higher. It's sort of broken out of that contraction lower on a monthly. So, okay, then I'll probably be happy to be looking at a buy on this one. Right, so then I've got to go down charts from monthly, click it down to my weekly. Weekly, it's probably in a good zone too. It's starting to show signs of coming into a good zone. Um, I'm not seeing anything too clear on that weekly, so I'll flick it down to a daily. And on a daily chart, we could be, just make that a bit bigger. All I'm considering is pretty much this move down, and is it going to roll up? Roll up. Can you roll up? Anyway, do people understand what I'm saying there? You just got to always just get the bigger picture, the smaller picture, and just try to work. Get your overall view of what's happening. And then if you're happy to jump in and go ahead with it, good. That's good. All right. So from here, we could be just pulling back on a daily basis. Yeah, stochastics are starting to get in good position. We're starting to be 335. Okay, could be good. We've just taken out this high. So realistically, this move down might be over. We could be breaking up through 350. From here, we might get a setup if we can see that. I'll just draw it in red, actually. Hope I haven't. Yep. Yep. So we got push up. That's 350 through here. Pull back. We've just taken out the high and we're back to about this stage. What I'd love to see is this type of price action. And then I'll be happy to put risk on that one. I know that I can have my exit just below, around below 330, which takes me sort of just below that support line. So if it gets broken, I know, okay, it could be a much deeper correction. Could be targeting there, so then I'll reassess it as I go. But if we do get a break up through there, then I'm in nice and early. Are we going to just retest up to 350, or at least get something in the bank where I've got a small risk? I'm refining my entry for a push up towards that 350, and if we just go through 350, break up through there, then that move down is pretty much, to me, is starting to be over, and then I could be targeting easy up towards 380. So it just means that you're refining your entries as such using your technicals. Hope that makes sense. Yeah. Look, that's true, Paul. I just tried to put it in context. It doesn't mean you got to remember there's technical traders out there. There's fundamental traders out there. It's just trying to get an overall view. I mean, sometimes, say, let's just go back to this. This is where you might have said back here, the same type of thing. We're getting up here. We're starting to see there. You could have said, okay, I don't know, 5 years ago, back in 2000. This is 2005. That's a different company. I would happen to buy it here, and then you've got the next 10 years of just sitting on the sidelines. It's still it all, to me, it all means something. So it's easy. It's one way to look at that. It could be a different company. It could be a different company. There's still some selling that's coming here. This could be the same company. We don't know. I don't run the company. I don't know the inside. You never know until the news comes out. So for me, I always find it relevant just to put it in a major perspective. I hope that makes sense anyway. Okay. Yeah, anything can happen. I'm not a big fan of Telstra, so I wouldn't be too pleased with the New Zealand version of Telstra. Bit of banter there. Anyway, let's get into it. Well, let's call it a day there. We'll call it quits on that note. But we'll be back on again the same time tomorrow. We'll have a look at it. It's 12:30. We'll do a presentation then, and we'll just see how we go. And then is that Friday, and then into it Monday, and then we'll be just doing the presentation. So we'll change it as of next week. So I hope you enjoyed all that, guys. Any questions? If you've got anything you want to shoot through to on via email, support@tradesetup.com.au, and then we'll get into any questions, anything you want to chat about. Yeah, feel free. Anyway, thanks for joining me, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. It's always good to have a good old chat. I enjoy that, and we'll speak again tomorrow. Cheers, bye.